Hello and welcome to the first and potentially only watch-along game that we are going to be doing of the British and Irish Lions tour to South Africa. We've probably left it a little bit too late to get a few of these bad boys in, as they're now, after tonight's game, there's only about 4 games left, 3 of which are the test, but you never know. Depending on how we get on, we might be able to get one of the tests in at least. But to be fair, if we're going to do a watch-along, there's no better than this one. I mean, wow. South Africa A. It doesn't really look like a South Africa A side, if we're honest. There's quite a few of the World Cup winning Springboks in this side. Cheslin Kobe, Faf de Klerk, to name but a few. So it's going to be a really interesting encounter, and one which I am absolutely psyched about and cannot wait. There is some other news. He's not the Messiah. He is just Alan from Wales. Alan Wynne-Jones is back on the Lions tour. God and only knows how he's done this, but 3 weeks ago he potentially dislocated his shoulder. But he has had treatment, he has had support, and he is now on a flight, if not today, maybe tomorrow, to South Africa to rejoin the team. No doubt he will need game time, so I would be expecting him to get at least one half, if not a little bit longer, against the Stormers, I think, is the next game midweek. So yeah, fantastic news. And I'll be honest, I think we said on the podcast, Ollie was very much thinking that he would be there. But for me, I didn't think he would. So hats off to him. Fantastic achievement. There are some late changes to tonight's game. Dan Biggar and Josh Adams have withdrawn from the team. Liam Williams comes in at fullback. Anthony Watson is moved to the wing. And Owen Farrell comes in and slots in the number 10 jersey. Dan Biggar, I think, has got a bit of an ankle injury. And obviously I don't think they want to risk him anymore. He is still kind of primed for the number 10 jersey in the tests. And Josh Adams' wife is currently, I think, in labour. And he's gone off to watch the birth of his child via Zoom. So good luck to them, and I hope the birth goes well. And yeah, this tour has just been riddled with little things that have caused minor instability in team selections, in decision making, and getting everybody ready for the game. But hey ho, it's the Lions, and Warren Gatlin's a tough old competitor, and I'm sure he'll just crack on. As we said, this is going to be one of the most interesting games, and probably is being described as a pivotal moment of this tour. We've got to kind of look at whether actually which team would be more worried if they lost. And I think realistically, it's probably both. I don't think either team will necessarily want to lose. For the Lions, there's obviously quite a few potential test players in this Lions team as well. They will want to win. They will want to keep the winning momentum going. And no doubt it is going to be a stern test against the South African A team. Likewise, South Africa, it's only their second game. They are not going to want to lose. They are going to want to win and potentially rock the apple cart for the Lions, because, as I've said, there's quite a number of South Africans from that World Cup winning team in this starting lineup. There are a few on the bench as well. It's a really strong team. Just in terms of the Lions and the Springboks, where are the key battles going to be? I think realistically, the Lions front row need to get on top of the South African front row. It's going to be a pivotal point. I think the Boks probably think the weakest part of the Lions game is their scrum. And Sinclair, Owens and Wynne-Jones on the loose head, they're all quality players, but they are going up against some tough opposition. If we can get slightly ahead of parity, or at least parity, and be on the same level as them, then that's going to build the foundation for the rest of the team. Other key battles in the second row, obviously, well, the front five in general, really. You've got Etzebeth and Motstad, the starting Springboks, I think, for the World Cup final against England in 2019. Ian Henderson and Maro Itoje, they all have to be on their game. It's going to be a fantastic battle in the lineouts, and also around the park. Back row again, that's going to be a pretty decent battle as well. I think personally, Toby Faletau really needs to have a good game here. At the moment, I would have Jack Cohen started at number 8 in the test over him. but don't write Faletau off. He is a world-class player. This is his third Lions tour, fourth Lions tour, third or fourth. Could be his third, could be his fourth. I can't remember. So he really needs to have a standout game. Conor Murray, with obviously the Messiah coming back in, all hail the King, Alan Wynne-Jones. I guess his test spot is, if Alan goes really well, his test spot could be up for grabs. Personally, I think he's still best nine, the best nine, and you know, the one that the Lions really need. Up against, obviously, Faf de Klerk. It's very much a contrast of Fafy's flair against Murray's kind of pragmatic approach to playing, his box kicking. So it's going to be a really interesting context. Chris Harries and Bundyaki, really excited about seeing how these guys go in the centres. I think this is possibly, if they go well, will be the centre partnership. I think Robbie Henshaw, not Henson. Gavin Henson hasn't played for years. I think he's actually playing Rugby League now. So Robbie Henshaw is coming back from injury. He'll be looking, I guess. I think Gatton has already said that he's going to start against the Stormers midweek. Again, is that going to be enough to get him straight back into the test team? I don't think so. I think Chris Harries and Bundyaki, if they put in a performance as individuals and as a collective unit in the midfield, we could see that as the starting test partnership for the opening test. And then the back three, as I've already said, there is a bit of disruption tonight with Josh Adams dropping out, but Liam Williams comes in, shores up the fullback spot, brings in that kind of security. I think Willie LaRue is playing fullback for South Africa, so I think under the high ball, that guy can go missing. If he drops a few, the pressure will be on him. There's key matchups all over the park, and this has been touted as the unofficial fourth test, and bloody hell, it's going to be an absolute epic game. I think it would be even better, obviously, if there were fans in the crowd. Could you imagine the atmosphere now as they're getting close to kick-off? We're about 15 minutes away. It would be absolutely thumping. Anyway, I've waffled on enough now. This is how it's going to work tonight. So I am going to give a review after the first 20 minutes, the second 20 minutes, the third 20 minutes and the final 20 minutes of what I think is going to happen in the game, who's on top, what needs to happen, what needs to change. And then at the end of the game, I'll just give a little overall kind of conclusion to what I felt or how I felt the game went. So check back in about 20 minutes time and I'll give you my review. See you in a bit. Well, that's the first 20 minutes of the first half gone. It's currently 10-0 to South Africa. A mistake from Owen Farrell with a blocked kick by Etzebeth, and the winger went down the pitch and basically scored a try. South Africa are pretty much dominating this game. In the rucks, we got a bit of maybe a little bit up in the scrums. But yeah, it is all South Africa at the moment. They seem to be playing a really good territory game, kicking for the corners. Faf de Klerk, lots of box kicks. Stain, lots of kicks downfield. Apply pressure and trying to make the Lions get out of their own half. And it's not been very good by the Lions, unfortunately. Their kicking game has been very, very poor in the first 20 minutes. Liam Williams pretty much has gone off from the first quarter kickoff with the HIA. Elliot Daly's come on. The Boxers seem to be living off the Lions' mistake at the moment. We need to get a foothold in the game, apply pressure, and we need to compete at the breakdowns, which we're not doing at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the action and I'll report to you again at half-time. Well, it didn't get much better in the second 20 minutes for the Lions there. On the positive note, at the end of the first half, obviously Faf de Klerk and their flanker are currently in the sin bin. We are going to really have to make that time with the South Africans down to 30 men really count. What was really disappointing is the lack of kind of thought towards the end of the first half there, when the Lions were just continuously bombarding with tap and goes on the South Africans line, and the South Africa's defence was just ridiculously good. They could have they could have done it a couple of times and really noticed when it wasn't working to change things up a bit. Currently, the score is 17-3 at half time. It's going to be a really, really good second half. The Lions really aren't gelling at the moment. I don't know what is going on. they don't seem to have that kind of cohesion between each other. Could it be the fact that Dan Biggar has trained, leading up to the match and now dropped out? The same with Josh Adams and the two guys that have come in, losing Liam Williams. I just don't know. But at the moment, South Africa are totally dominating. Fingers crossed for a better second 20 minutes in the second half. Otherwise, this could be a long old game and South Africa could easily come out on top. So a much better opening 20 minutes to the second half, from the British and Irish Lions. They certainly made the fact that they had two South Africans in the sin bin told. Nice try from Wyn Jones, was it? I was a little bit worried when they went back to that continuous knocking on the door, but they luckily enough got over the try line. And they have also just nailed a penalty kick to bring themselves within sort of 5 points or 4 points of the South African score. South Africa's penalty count seems to be mounting up at the moment. The Lions are playing a much different kind of game. They're kind of trying to keep the ball away from the blanket green that is the South African defence, and kind of tipping on little offloads, little forwards running onto the ball. Cowan Dickey's now on, so the chop tackling king will hopefully start making better inroads into the South African attack. We're kicking out of defence better. We're not just kicking aimlessly to Cheslin Colby and letting that little fella run his way back into the game. Much more assured first 20 minutes of the second half. My question is, why is Rassie Erasmus allowed to be the water boy? That seems a bit of an unfair advantage to me. He's quite clearly going to be giving the side information, instructions when he's running on with the water. Not sure if that seems particularly fair. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a bit anti-South African. Seems a little bit, not too sure about that one. But fingers crossed that the improvement to the Lions game continues. I think potentially we have lost Anthony Watson though, which isn't great. That's not good news from that point of view. But all in all, a much better start to the second half. Okay, so the game that was earmarked as the fourth unofficial test has come to an end. It's a South African victory, unfortunately. What can you say? I mean, the Lions were much improved in the second half, significantly, in fact. I thought Adam Beard came on in the second row and really put his hand up for selection. He got in amongst the South African boys, stopped them at source on a couple of occasions, and looked really good. As I said in the podcast in the week, Faletau for me is not playing well, and I think he kind of showed that again whilst he was on the field. I can't see him being in the test team, if I'm honest. I think it's going to be Conan. Anthony Watson managed to stay on the field. I think I obviously had just jumped off at that point to do the little recording. He stayed on the field and continued to play well. I think we also kept Cheslin Colby under wraps. He kind of didn't have the space that he had in the first half. I think, when we're looking back at the game, we didn't start well. That's the main thing. And if we can bring in the other guys, I think Van der Merwe would make a massive difference, if I'm in all honesty. Gatlin's hand might be forced if Liam Williams is kind of out of the game because of concussion. Let's not forget, they also lost Peter Steph Toy. He failed his HIA as well. So that's going to be interesting whether he's going to be fit for the first test. So many different things to come out of that game. I think the Lions will obviously be disappointed that they've lost, but at the same time, the second half performance was much better. I think we probably, Cowan Dickey, I thought played really well when he came on. I love the fact that he chops his chop tackles. It stops the South Africans at source. Really good. I thought Sam Simmons came on and played pretty well, gave it a bit more of an injection of pace to the game. And I've been a little bit critical of him, obviously, as you know, if you listen to the podcast in the week. I said it earlier on, I don't get why Erasmus is allowed to be the water boy. For me, that just seems to be like he's coaching from actually on the pitch. Hate Faf de Klerk, can't stand him. He's really annoying, typical scrum half, proper little general. It's probably because he's talented, but yeah, just find him really frustrating. Owen Farrell, I thought, went quite well at 10, obviously coming in at the last minute. Would it have been a different game with Bigger? Quite possibly. A little bit of a worry now because obviously Bigger's not played that many games. Has Farrell sort of staked a claim to that? I thought Chris Harris and Bundyaki in the second half again played a lot better, but both were kind of kept quiet. But again, I think it's just those silly little mistakes that the Lions have made obviously cost us the game in the end. Mario Toji, he played really well. I do think, though, that Alan Wynn's probably going to come back in the side. If he has a good half an hour, 45 minutes, 50 minutes against the Stormers, then he's going to come straight back in and captain the side. Conor Murray, captaincy, I'm not too sure. I think, again, as I said in the first half, when they were banging on the line, he should have probably stepped in and kind of changed the gameplay because, at that point, South Africa's defence was really good. From a South African point of view, I thought Jasper Weiss, the Leicester guy, played quite well. He's annoyingly good. But I think also they picked up a few injuries, which is going to be interesting to see how that kind of pans out. Anyway, although we've lost, I think we can take a lot of positives from the game and a lot of work-ons from the game. Fingers crossed the game against the Stormers on the weekend gets everything back up on tour, leading into that first test against South Africa. Literally cannot wait. It is going to be fantastic. This was test match level rugby that we watched tonight, and you could just tell, bit cagey at times from both teams, bit kick-in territory, line-outs, mauling, cracking. Really looking forward to that very first.